India has overtaken China as the world's most populous nation. According to the UN, it has some 3 million people more than its neighbour. And with a population of 1.428 billion people, the South Asian nation is home to nearly a fifth of humanity, greater than the entire population of Europe or Africa or the Americas. Half of India's population is under the age of 30, and the nation is on track to become the world's fastest growing major economy in the coming years. India's population is forecast to keep increasing as well, while China's numbers, well, they're expected to decline further after falling for the first time in 6 decades last year. For more, we're joined now by Solnalda Desai. She's a distinguished university professor in sociology at the University of Maryland. Professor Desai, thank you for joining us. It's a symbolic demographic event. The numbers have sparked excitement in India as well. But what does it mean for India? How can it leverage on this demographic dividend that it has?
I think while it is an interesting and exciting moment, we have known for more than a decade that this day was coming when India would become the most populous nation in the world. What is interesting about this is that India has also entered an era of fertility decline. So each successive generation is likely to become smaller, making currently the working age population support a smaller number of dependents, children and elderly, resulting in what we now call demographic dividend. So this demographic dividend is really all about more workers than dependents and allowing the nation to generate surplus capital that can be invested in for future growth. So this is an exciting moment, and I very much hope that India would be able to take advantage of this demographic dividend.
And Professor Desai, that working age demographic, those young adults who can work and who are skilled as well, they're going to be an important part of this story because there are many companies from around the world that are looking to move production away from China. Many of them have this China plus one strategy or are considering it. Having that larger adult population that's working, it's a net plus for the economy as well. How is India going to leverage on that?
I think in order to leverage on this working age population, India needs to do 2 or 3 things. The first has to be to invest in education and skill building so that these workers are not just a source of cheap labor, but they are also working in industries and services which are more value added. So focusing on education would become particularly important, and also developing some of the workplace skills for these workers. The second part of it is that as families have fewer children, it's also possible to leverage greater entry of women into the labor force because now women have fewer children to care for. So this, I think, is also going to become a major challenge, an opportunity for India to ensure that there are greater number of jobs available to women, barriers to women's entry into the labor force are addressed, removed. Transportation systems are improved so that women can go to work without, facing greater constraints and so on. And finally, I think it would be important for India to invest in manufacturing activities which employ a large number of workforce, which could be facilitated by this China plus one strategy that many overseas investors are looking into. Thank you.
Professor Desai, just a quick final question for you. You mentioned the benefits that there could be, but we have more than 15% of youth unemployed today in India. Also, a full third of those aren't even in employment. They're not in any training, or they're not doing skills training, what you mentioned, that they should be doing. How much of a liability could the demographic dividend that India is seeing with this growth in population, how much of a risk does India really face in the coming years?
It's certainly having a large number of unemployed youth could be a risky situation, as we have seen from the revolts around the Arab Springs in Middle East. Okay? At the same time, I'd like to highlight, though, that at some level, the fact that India has this large number of unemployed youth actually is result of some of the fortunate developments in India. First, many of these youths have been in college and are looking for higher skill jobs, and hence they are waiting to get better jobs than what the youth of the past did, which was just joining into farming or whatever work is available. So this youth are clearly waiting to find a better job, and that their families are able to support them into this waiting. We actually see very low unemployment rate when it comes to people above 30. So, clearly people wait for a while to get the right kind of a job and then accept whatever they can. So, in some sense, I don't see a great reason to be alarmed by this unemployment rate for people 22 to 29 or so. But at the same time, we have to be cognizant of the fact that that is a politically volatile and risky situation.
All right, Professor Desai, thank you
Thanks.
very much for that. That was Sonalde Desai, Distinguished University Professor in Sociology at the University of Maryland.